Hello family, welcome to Stories with JAYVIL. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones and remember to turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Now sit back and relax as we dive into the story. Amara and Emeka's journey began in a small modest home nestled in the heart of a bustling Nigerian community. The couple, full of dreams and ambitions, had their love tested daily by the harsh realities of life. Despite their struggles, they leaned on each other for strength, determined to make something of themselves. Amara, a young woman with a natural flair for cooking, had always been praised for her ability to turn the simplest ingredients in mouth-watering dishes. Friends and neighbors often remarked that her food wasn't just delicious, it had a unique touch of soul. One evening, after yet another meal prepared from their meager pantry, she shared her idea with Emeka. "I think I can make something out of this," she said, her eyes lighting up with determination. Emeka, ever supportive, nodded. "I believe in you. What do you need to get started?" They decided to start small. With the little savings they had, Amara bought fresh ingredients from the local market and began cooking meals to sell to office workers nearby. It wasn't easy. She would wake up before dawn to prepare the meals, carefully packaging each one to look appealing. Emeka, despite his own job, took on the role of delivery man, using an old bicycle to transport the food. The first week was slow, with only a few orders trickling in. Amara grew anxious, wondering if her idea was doomed to fail. "Maybe people don't like my food after all," she muttered one evening, slumping onto their worn-out sofa. Emeka placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Give it time. They'll see how special your cooking is. You just need to keep going." His words gave her the strength to persevere. Slowly but surely, word spread about Amara's meals. Her customers began recommending her to others, and soon her small operation started gaining traction. Workers eagerly awaited her deliveries, praising her for both the taste and the care she put into her cooking. As the orders grew, so did the challenges. Their tiny kitchen often felt like a battlefield, with pots boiling on every available burner and ingredients scattered across the counters. Amara worked tirelessly, her hands often sore from chopping, stirring, and packing. Emeka, despite his exhaustion from juggling multiple jobs, remained her biggest supporter. On particularly tough days, he would come home with a small treat, sometimes a snack, other times a new set of containers for her meals. "We're building something great, Amara," he would say. By the end of the year, the couple's hard work began to pay off. They managed to save enough to invest in better equipment and even hired a young assistant to help with the growing workload. Their tiny business, born out of necessity, had grown into something they could be proud of. Little did they know that their journey, while promising, would soon test their love and loyalty in ways they never expected. For now they celebrated the glimmer of hope their efforts had brought into their lives, unaware of the trials that lay ahead. Amara's small catering business continued to thrive, slowly transforming their modest lives. Each day started before dawn, with Amara meticulously planning her recipes and preparing the meals. Her passion for cooking shone through in every dish she crafted, and the growing demand proved that her talent was unmatched. The orders steadily increased, and their once small operation began to feel overwhelming. The kitchen, though efficient for a family of two, was bursting at seams with the workload. "We need to make some changes," Emeka said one evening as they sat in the living room, sorting through their daily earnings. "What do you mean?" Amara asked, glancing up from her notebook filled with recipes and plans. "I think we need to expand, hire more help, maybe even rent a bigger space," Emeka suggested, his tone hopeful. Amara hesitated. The thought of expanding was exciting, but it also scared her. What if it didn't work? What if they lost everything they'd worked so hard for? Emeka seemed to sense her doubt. "You've built something amazing, Amara. People love your food. If we keep at it, this business could be something much bigger than we imagined." Bolstered by Emeka's confidence, Amara agreed. They hired Ada, a cheerful young woman who quickly became an essential part of their team. With her help, Amara could focus on refining her recipes and improving the quality of her meals. Meanwhile, Emeka took on a larger role in the business. He began managing the finances, handling customer inquiries, and ensuring that deliveries ran smoothly. His organizational skills brought a level of efficiency to the operation that allowed them to take on even more orders. Their big break came when a local businessman, impressed by Amara's meals, hired her to cater his daughter's wedding. It was the largest order they had ever received, and Amara poured her heart into every dish. The event was a resounding success, with guests raving about the food and asking for her contact information. "That was incredible," Emeka said later that night as they counted their earnings from the event. "This is just the beginning, Amara. I can feel it." The wedding opened new doors for their business. They received calls for more large events, and their reputation as the go-to caterer in their community grew. With the additional income, they were finally able to move into a larger space. An old storefront they converted into a commercial kitchen. For the first time, Amara and Emeka felt like they were truly thriving. The weight of financial struggles that had once burdened them was starting to lift, and they could finally see a brighter future ahead. However, as their business grew, so did the challenges. The long hours and stress of managing a larger operation began to take a toll on their relationship. While Amara remained focused on the food, Emeka's growing role in the business brought him into the public eye, a change that would soon test the foundation of their marriage. With the business expanding at an unprecedented rate, Amara and Emeka found themselves juggling even more responsibilities. The once small operation had grown into a recognized brand in their community, and their new commercial kitchen bustled with activity. Amara focused on perfecting her recipes and managing the kitchen staff, while Emeka took charge of the administrative side, handling client meetings, finances, and outreach. Initially, their partnership thrived under this division of labor. Emeka's natural charisma and organizational skills made him the perfect face for the business. Clients loved his professionalism, and his knack for networking brought in even larger contracts. Amara, meanwhile, was happy to stay behind the scenes, dedicating herself to the quality and consistency of their food. But as time passed, subtle changes began to surface. Emeka, now attending events and client meetings on his own, started to enjoy the attention that came with his role. At functions, he was often the one receiving praise for the business, while Amara's contributions went unnoticed. One evening, after a successful catering event, Amara brought up her concerns. "I feel like people think this is all you, Emeka. They don't realize how much work happens behind the scenes." Emeka, tired and distracted, waved her concerns away. "That's just how it is, Amara. Clients don't care about the kitchen, they care about the face of the business." His dismissive tone stung, but Amara chose not to press the issue. She reminded herself that they were a team and that their shared success was more important than recognition. However, Emeka's behavior continued to change. He began attending more events and meetings, often staying out late. When Amara asked why she wasn't involved, his responses were curt. "It's just business," he'd say. "You wouldn't enjoy it." Their conversations grew shorter, their once light-hearted banter replaced by strained exchanges. Emeka seemed distracted, and Amara started to feel a growing distance between them. She often found herself eating dinner alone, wondering when or if he would come home. The first real blow came when Amara overheard one of their stammers joking about Emeka's celebrity status in the community. "He's the face of everything," they said. "People only know him now." Amara felt a pang of sadness. She had poured her heart and soul into the business, yet it seemed her efforts were being overshadowed. The tipping point came when Emeka began making decisions without consulting her. One day he announced that he had signed a new contract with a major client. "It's going to bring in a lot of money," he said with a proud smile. Amara frowned. "But how are we going to manage such a big order? We're already stretched thin." "Don't worry about it," Emeka replied. "I've got it under control." For the first time, Amara felt like an outsider in her own business. While she trusted Emeka's abilities, the growing cracks in their relationship left her with an uneasy feeling, a sense that something more troubling was on the horizon. Amara's unease grew with each passing day. Emeka's late nights, secretive phone calls, and dismissive behavior were no longer isolated incidents, they were becoming a pattern. Though she tried to focus on the business, the nagging feeling that something was wrong weighed heavily on her heart. One evening, after a particularly long day in the kitchen, Amara noticed Emeka's phone buzzing repeatedly on the counter. He had stepped out of the house, leaving it unlocked, a rare occurrence. A message flashed on the screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Amara froze, her heart pounding. The name attached to the message was unfamiliar, Kioma. For a moment she debated whether to confront Emeka immediately, but something held her back. She needed to be certain before taking any action. In the days that followed, Amara began to piece together the truth. Emeka's growing distance, his constant absences, and the whispers she'd overheard from staff about his friendly meetings with a certain young woman all began to make sense. Determined to confirm her suspicions, Amara followed Emeka one evening. He had claimed to have a business dinner, but instead he drove to an upscale lounge. Amara parked her car a safe distance away and watched as he stepped out, adjusting his tie. Moments later, a beautiful young woman with an air of confidence joined him. Chioma. The pair greeted each other warmly, sharing a laugh before walking into the lounge together. Amara's chest tightened as she watched them disappear through the doors. Her worst fears had been confirmed. Returning home that night, Amara sat in silence, clutching the edge of the dining table. Anger, betrayal, and heartbreak coursed through her veins. She thought about everything they had built together, the sacrifices she had made, the trust she had placed in him. But Amara was not one to crumble under pressure. She resolved to handle this betrayal not with tears, but with action. The next morning, she began discreetly gathering information. She reviewed their business accounts, checked contracts, and quietly consulted a lawyer. What she discovered shook her to the core. Emeka had been diverting company funds into a private account. It was clear he had been using their hard-earned money to fund his extravagant lifestyle with Kioma. Rather than confront Emeka outright, Amara decided to outsmart him. She continued to play the role of a supportive wife, hiding her knowledge of his betrayal while secretly preparing for the battle ahead. Her first step was to secure her position in the business. Through her lawyer, she confirmed that she still held the majority stake and began taking steps to protect her assets. Meanwhile, Emeka, blinded by arrogance and infatuation, had no idea that the woman he had betrayed was already 2 steps ahead of him. As he spent more time with Chioma, flaunting his perceived control of the business, Amara was quietly reclaiming what was rightfully hers. The betrayal had cut deep, but Amara was determined to emerge stronger. She would not let Emeka's actions destroy everything she had built. Instead, she resolved to turn this pain into power and make him regret underestimating her. Amara was no stranger to adversity. Betrayal was a bitter pill to swallow, but she refused to let it define her. Instead of lashing out or confronting Emeka in anger, she channeled her pain into strategy. She knew that confronting him without a plan would only play into his hands. To reclaim her business and her dignity, she needed to act wisely and decisively. Her first step was to meet with a lawyer. She carefully explained the situation, laying out the evidence of Emeka's mismanagement and the private account he had been funneling money into. "The good news," the lawyer said with a reassuring smile, "is that you're the founder and majority stakeholder of the business. Legally, you have full control." Amara felt a wave of relief but also anger. How had she let things get this far? Emeka had manipulated her trust, and now he was using their success to fund his double life. The lawyer helped Amara take immediate action. They froze the joint accounts Emeka had access to, ensuring he could no longer withdraw funds. Amara also began redirecting all incoming payments to a new account in her name, effectively cutting Emeka off from the company's finances. Next, she turned her attention to the staff. Over the years, she had built strong relationships with her team, many of whom had been with her since the early days of the business. Quietly, she began confiding in her most trusted employees, securing their loyalty and ensuring they understood her vision for the company's future. Ada, her first hire and most loyal assistant, was one of the first to pledge her support. "I'm with you, Ma," she said firmly. This business wouldn't exist without you. Encouraged by Ada's words, Amara moved forward with her plans. She reorganized the company's operations, ensuring that key functions ran through her oversight. She also began reaching out to clients, subtly re-establishing herself as the true leader of the business. Meanwhile, Emeka remained oblivious. He continued his late nights and secretive outings, assuming that Amara was none the wiser. When he did come home, his attitude was cold and dismissive. "Don't worry about the business," he said one evening when Amara inquired about a contract. "I've got everything under control." Amara bit her tongue, refusing to reveal her hand. "Of course," she replied with a calm smile. "I trust you." What Emeka didn't realize was that his days of control were numbered. Amara was quietly dismantling his influence, piece by piece, preparing for the moment when she would take back what was hers. Her resolve only grew stronger with each passing day. She reminded herself that this business had been built on her hard work and sacrifice. Emeka's betrayal hurt, but it would not break her. Instead, it fueled her determination to emerge stronger than ever, and to ensure that Emeka would face the consequences of his actions. The tension in the house was palpable. Emeka, still blinded by his arrogance, failed to notice the quiet storm building within Amara. She had everything in place: legal documents, financial evidence, and the loyalty of her most trusted staff. All she needed was the right moment to strike. That moment came one evening when Emeka returned home, his demeanor smug and self-assured. Amara was waiting for him in the living room, her calm exterior masking the storm brewing inside her. "We need to talk," she said, her tone measured. Emeka shrugged, clearly uninterested. "About what?" Amara gestured to the dining table, where a folder of documents lay waiting. "The business," she said simply. His brow furrowed, but he followed her to the table. He picked up the folder, flipping through the pages with a casual air. As he read, his expression shifted from indifference to confusion, then to anger. "What is this?" he demanded, slamming the folder down. "It's proof that I've taken back full control of the business," Amara replied, her voice steady. "You've been diverting funds for your personal use, Emeka. I've frozen the accounts you had access to and transferred the company's finances into a secure account under my name. Legally, you have no claim to the business." Emeka's face turned red with fury. "You can't do this," he shouted. "I'm the one running things now. You think you can just push me out?" Amara didn't flinch. "I built this business from nothing, Emeka," she said firmly. "While you were out enjoying the spotlight, I was in the kitchen, working day and night to make this a success. You betrayed my trust, and now you're facing the consequences." He stood up, pacing the room, his hands clenched into fists. "You think you're so clever," he spat. "This isn't over." Amara remained seated, her composure unshaken. "It is over, Emeka. You've been siphoning money to fund your lifestyle with Chioma. I have the proof, and I've already consulted a lawyer. If you try to fight me, you'll only embarrass yourself further." The mention of Chioma's name made Emeka pause, his anger giving way to unease. He knew she was right. He had no defense. "You don't understand," he muttered, sinking into a chair. I thought." "You thought I'd never find out," Amara interrupted. "You thought I'd let you take everything I worked for. But you were wrong, Emeka." Her words hung in the air, heavy with finality. For the first time, Emeka seemed to grasp the depth of his betrayal and the consequences it had wrought. Amara stood, gathering the folder. "The staff and clients already know about the transition," she said. "From now on, you're no longer involved in the business." As she walked away, Emeka sat frozen in his chair, his mind racing. He had underestimated her, and now the life he had so carelessly taken for granted was slipping through his fingers. For Amara, the confrontation marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where she reclaimed her power and refused to be diminished by betrayal. Emeka's world began to unravel. The business he once paraded as his own was no longer within his grasp. His accounts had been frozen, his influence stripped away, and his name tarnished among clients and staff. Overnight, the facade of success he had built crumbled, leaving him exposed to the harsh reality of his actions. He tried to retaliate, attempting to rally support among staff members and stakeholders. "Amara can't run this business alone," he argued. "She doesn't understand the complexities like I do." But his pleas fell on deaf ears. The employees, loyal to Amara's leadership and integrity, dismissed his claims. They had seen her relentless dedication and unwavering vision. Emeka's betrayal had made it clear who truly deserved their loyalty. As the days passed, Emeka's financial troubles deepened. The lavish lifestyle he had enjoyed was no longer sustainable without access to the company's funds. His once expensive suits were replaced by worn-out shirts, and the luxury car he had flaunted was sold to pay off debts. Chioma, the woman who had encouraged his betrayal, quickly distanced herself from him. Without money or influence, Emeka no longer held any appeal to her. One evening she left without a word, taking with her whatever remnants of pride he had left. Emeka returned to a modest apartment far removed from the life he had known. The peeling walls and cracked tiles were a stark contrast to the upscale home he once shared with Amara. Sitting alone in the dimly lit space, he stared at the bank statements that marked his downfall. Meanwhile, Amara thrived. Freed from the burden of Emeka's betrayal, she poured her energy into rebuilding the business on her terms. She expanded their operations, opened new branches, and introduced innovative services that attracted more clients. Under her leadership, the company flourished. Emeka watched her success from afar, his heart heavy with regret. He attempted to reach out to her, sending a letter filled with apologies and pleas for forgiveness. "I know I've hurt you," he wrote. "I made mistakes I can never undo, but I hope one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me." Amara read the letter in silence. Though she felt a pang of sadness for the man she had once loved, she knew she couldn't let him back into her life. Forgiveness was one thing, but rebuilding trust was another. She didn't respond. Instead, she focused on her children and her vision for the future. She had learned a painful lesson about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of protecting what she had built. For Emeka, life became a quiet existence of regret. He spent his days reflecting on the choices that had led to his downfall, haunted by the realization that his greed and betrayal had cost him everything. For Amara, it was the start of a new chapter, one defined by strength, independence, and the unshakable belief in her own worth. Amara stood proudly in the courtyard of her company's latest branch, surrounded by employees, clients, and community members. It was the grand opening of a new catering hub, a symbol of her hard work and resilience. The sun shone brightly as she held a pair of scissors, ready to cut the ribbon that marked the next chapter of her business journey. Cheers erupted as she sliced through the ribbon, her vibrant traditional attire glowing in the sunlight. "This is not just my victory," she said, addressing the crowd. "This is our victory. This company was built on hard work, dedication, and the trust of everyone standing here today." Her words were met with applause and admiration. Amara's story had become an inspiration to many in her community. She was no longer just a caterer, she was a symbol of perseverance and success. After the ceremony, Amara walked through the new facility, greeting employees and checking the operations. The once small business she had started from her kitchen was now a well-oiled machine with multiple branches, a growing team, and a loyal client base. Despite her triumph, Amara remained grounded. She remembered the long nights of chopping vegetables, the stress of early deliveries, and the heartache of betrayal. Those experiences had shaped her into the leader she was today. Meanwhile, Emeka's life had taken a starkly different turn. Stripped of his role in the business and without a source of income, he had been forced to sell his remaining belongings to survive. The apartment he now lived in was small and bare, a far cry from the home he once shared with Amara. One day, he received an invitation to the grand opening. It wasn't from Amara, but from one of their mutual friends who wanted him to see what he had lost. Emeka declined, unable to face the reality of Amara's success without him. Sitting in his dimly lit apartment, he stared at a photo of their family taken during the early days of the business. Regret filled him as he realized how much he had thrown away. He thought of Amara, the woman who had given him everything, and the pain he had caused her. Amara, however, was moving forward. The betrayal that once consumed her was now a distant memory. She had reclaimed her power and built a life that reflected her strength and resilience. Her business continued to expand, and she began mentoring young entrepreneurs, especially women. encouraging them to pursue their dreams no matter the obstacles. "Your strength lies in your ability to rise," she often said during her workshops. As Amara's story spread, her name became synonymous with success and empowerment. She was no longer defined by Emeka's betrayal, but by her ability to overcome it. For her, this was just the beginning of a legacy that would inspire generations. For Emeka, it was a lesson he would carry for the rest of his life, a stark reminder of what happens when one takes loyalty and trust for granted. Amara's life had transformed into a shining example of perseverance and triumph. Her business flourished, her reputation soared, and she became a beacon of hope for many in her community. Yet, as she basked in her success, she never lost the humility that had carried her through her most difficult days. One evening, while sorting through some old documents, Amara stumbled upon a faded photograph of herself and Emeka from their early days. It was a bittersweet reminder of the life they had once shared. For a moment, she allowed herself to reflect on their journey, the struggles, the love, and ultimately, the betrayal. Meanwhile, Emeka, now a shadow of his former self, lived quietly in a small apartment on the outskirts of town. Stripped of his wealth, influence, and even the respect of those who once admired him, he spent his days reflecting on the choices that had led to his downfall. Unable to shake the weight of his guilt, Emeka penned a letter to Amara. "I know I can never undo the hurt I've caused," he wrote, "but I want you to know that I am truly sorry. You believed in me when no one else did, and I let you down. I hope one day you can forgive me." Amara received the letter a few days later. She read it in silence, her expression unreadable. While the words stirred memories of pain, they also reminded her of how far she had come. Emeka's apology, though sincere, could not undo the past. She chose not to respond. For Amara, the letter was closure, a final chapter in a story she had already moved on from. She had built a new life for herself, one that was rooted in strength and independence. Forgiveness didn't mean inviting Emeka back into her life. It meant letting go of the bitterness that once consumed her. Her focus remained on her children and her growing empire. Amara used her platform to mentor aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly women who face similar challenges. Her workshops and community events were packed with people eager to learn from her experiences. "Success isn't about avoiding failure or betrayal," she told one audience. "It's about finding the courage to rise again, stronger than before." As Amara's influence grew, her story became a source of inspiration across the region. People admired her for her resilience and her ability to turn adversity into opportunity. For Emeka, life continued quietly. He found work as a clerk at a small shop, earning just enough to make ends meet. The once proud man who had sought to control everything now lived with humility, haunted by the consequences of his actions. Every now and then, he would hear about Amara's latest achievements, a new branch opening, an award, or her speaking at a prestigious event. Each success was a reminder of what he had lost, but also a lesson in what he had taken for granted. For Amara, the past was a stepping stone, not a shackle. Her journey was a testament to the power of resilience and the unyielding spirit of a determined heart. Amara stood on a brightly lit stage, addressing a packed hall filled with aspiring entrepreneurs, community leaders, and supporters. She wore a vibrant traditional outfit, her poise radiating confidence and wisdom. This event was not just another milestone for her, it was a celebration of resilience, a platform to inspire others with her story. "I started with nothing but a small kitchen and a big dream," she began, her voice steady and strong. "There were days when it felt impossible, but I learned that success isn't handed to you, it's earned through perseverance, hard work, and belief in yourself." The audience erupted into applause. Amara's journey from a struggling caterer to a successful businesswoman was well known, but hearing her recount it in her own words ignited a spark in everyone present. Behind her was a banner that read, "Empowering the next generation, a journey of resilience." Her catering business, now a national brand, had become a vehicle for more than just food. It was a source of mentorship, employment, and inspiration for countless individuals. Meanwhile, Emeka sat alone in his modest apartment, flipping through a newspaper. On the front page was a picture of Amara at her latest branch opening. Her name was now synonymous with success, a constant reminder of what he had lost. He traced her image with his finger, his heart heavy with regret. He couldn't bring himself to attend any of her events, though he had been invited several times by mutual friends. Watching her from a distance was punishment enough, a reminder of the opportunities he had squandered and the woman he had betrayed. For Amara, however, Emeka's shadow no longer loomed over her life. She had moved on, her heart lighter, her focus sharper. While the betrayal had once threatened to break her, she had used it as fuel to forge a new path. Her children, now older, often accompanied her to events, proud of their mother's accomplishments. "You've shown us what strength looks like," her eldest daughter said one evening. "You didn't just survive, you thrived." Amara smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. Her children were her greatest legacy, a testament to the love and determination that had carried her through the darkest times. As the years went by, Amara's influence grew beyond her business. She launched initiatives to support women in business, providing funding, training, and mentorship to those who needed a hand up. Her story became a symbol of resilience, not just in her community, but across the nation. For Emeka, life was a humbler affair. He worked quietly, reflecting often on his mistakes and the life he could have had. Though he lived with regret, he also found solace in knowing that Amara had found the happiness and success she deserved. Amara's story was one of triumph over adversity, of turning pain into purpose. It was a reminder that betrayal could not define her, but her response to it could. And with each new achievement, she cemented her legacy as a woman of strength, resilience, and unwavering determination. We've come to the end of this story. Please subscribe to my channel to support me. Thank you.